Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about Solo Leveling Chapter 146, and surprisingly again, I'm doing this on time, on the day. I'll be a little bit late. I think the translation came out about 7 or 8 o'clock, so this is 9:30 UK recording time, so I'm not far off, but I'm getting there. That being said, let's waste no time. Without further ado, let's get into this review. So. The chapter seemed really short to me. I don't know if it was just because a lot of the panels were taken up by the action between the Scavenger Guild and the Shadow Monarch's army, but it did feel quite short. But that's fine, because ultimately it's adding the disposition of what the fight really is, and it did start off essentially Guild versus Guild, but pretty much ended up Thomas Andre versus Sun Jin Woo. So I think with that being the case, I will just touch on a few points. It probably won't be that long of a review, but I do have a tendency to ramble, so I'll talk on a few points and we'll go from there. So first things first, the chapter starts off with Thomas Andre giving the whole "this is your last chance, if you just apologize I won't kill you." Obviously he's got a funny way of kind of speaking because he is arrogant and rude at the very same time. To him, he's trying to be lenient. So he really does have a way of speaking to people. And Sun Jin Woo really has a way of expressing himself as well by giving literally the middle finger, which starts the fight. Realistically, what this chapter is all about, it's literally a flex to really show the type of abilities a national level hunter has, and by extension what Christopher Reed had before he died. So the whole kind of theory that I had, or that I thought I cracked the code, it was made very obvious in this chapter that yes, indeed, the 4 fighting national class hunters are the 4 borrowers of a ruler's ability, because this transformation kind of guaranteed that, really. So if you look at the chapter from a linear point of view, Thomas Andre does a flex, Sun Jin Woo flexes back on him, which causes Thomas Andre to reach another level, which can cause him to be essentially usurped or flexed harder on, and then we get the transformation. So the key things here is they have very similar abilities, so monarchs and rulers by extension will have similar abilities. He call it Physchokinesis, we call it the ruler's authority. They pretty much kind of do the same thing with the different abilities, and that's probably again ruler versus monarch techniques. What was interesting was the technique he used that turned into a black hole, Thomas Andre did, which sucked up all the soldiers. And it was like, oh, if I didn't have my soldiers, my monarch's or ruler's authority, I may not have been able to survive. These are all possibly true, but at this stage of the game, it is all hyperbole, or hype, because they want to really build this 4 up, really. But realistically, there's things to consider here. He's probably physically stronger than a lot of the shadows that are currently on the battlefield, but they're probably stronger than all the people that he's got with him, which he does mention it, which has a double meaning. He goes, or I think he gets through the magic or the magician shadow, and he basically says, these are not worthy of my time, or these are not going to be an issue, or they are not going to be an issue, depending on the translation you look at. That could mean 2 things. Number one, it can mean that they're not going to be a problem for him, or that the people that he's brought with him are not going to be a problem for these shadows. So that's the 2 things you can take from that. The next thing with this is the transformation. Now the transformation itself, once he had done his kind of thing and he's set up the stage at the end of the chapter, if you really look at the armor, it does look a lot like the flashback rulers that we had, albeit kind of like a lower level one. It kind of seems more rudimentary. They kind of had like more of a stylish aesthetic to him, kind of very heavily being angelish types with so many wings, and he didn't seem to have that. So what this leads me to believe is potentially what happens is your transformation, probably the better you get at it, or the stronger you develop in that area, the more closely you'll resemble the ruler you're resembling, or the powers you're borrowing from. And I think that's what's possibly happening there, because he does look a bit like them with his armor, but he doesn't quite look up to that same kind of standard. He looks more like if you think about like an RPG fantasy type of game, you've got lower level armors, then you get a decent armor, then you keep going further, and you might get mithril, which is like this, hard, really hard armor. So I think it might be something like that where he will get stronger still, and maybe we've not seen the end of how strong he is. But it seems to be that at the moment they're kind of one-upping each other, and we haven't really explored really what makes Sun Jin Woo as scary and as powerful he is, because he's physically quite capable, and we've seen that with a lot of the stuff that he's done. But then the vast amounts of mana he has, and the the rebirth and the redevelopment and regrowing of his shadows over and over and over and over again, it's what makes him truly terrifying to the opponent. Suffice to say, it is actually easier for the Scavenger Guild because Beru isn't there. Because I can imagine Beru being there would make a hell of a difference, and I don't think Mr. Thomas Andre would be getting away with some of the things he'd be getting away with. But they've kind of done that in a very particular way to make him seem the way he is, which leads me to believe that he might not die here. I don't think he's going to beat Sun Jin Woo because Sun Jin Woo is the main character. They might draw, or it might be a very close fight and they earn each other's respect. Either way, this is basically really shining a light on Thomas Andre, and it's showing how they stack. So if this is the extent of his power, Sun Jin Woo is going to start taking over at some point. If, like I was saying, his armor is going to develop further, we might see a better form of him later on down the line, or possibly later on in this fight. That being said, that's pretty much what the chapter entails. He does one thing, he does something else, and it's kind of like your move versus my move, kind of a chess game, and that's pretty much the chapter. It is exciting. I don't want to get all hype, but I don't want to, because it's been a few hours, I've kind of digested it now and calmed down, but realistically I was bouncing off the walls practically, being a mark about this. So I hope everyone else enjoyed the chapter as much as I did. Like, comment, share and subscribe. All the links as always will be in the description below for my subreddit, as well as my Twitter to get notifications for those who are interested. And I'll see you next time. Peace.